I want to be able to, that is my role. That is my job. I want to be able to answer questions. I want to be able to help my brokers work through scenarios.
Welcome back, everyone, to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. As always, I'm Matt and he's Garrett, and we have another incredible guest with us today. We have the branch manager of the Northgate office for Windermere up in Seattle, Jordan Malloch. Jordan, welcome to the show, my man.
Thank you, Matt. Great to be here. Garrett, great to chat with you as well. I'm excited for this.
I'm excited to get going with this journey, Jordan. I've heard so much about you, getting to meet you really for the first time face to face here, but Matt has told me a ton about you. So we're going to, I think, have a great discussion today.
Yeah, this is going to be great. So Jordan, you've been in the business for 20 years now, and you've been branch manager for many of those years. And your history also isn't always in real estate. You also happen to be an Olympic canoeer in 2000 and 2004. And we're going to talk a little bit about how the discipline of being a amateur athlete, but like basically at the pro level in terms of ability, how that discipline applies into how you run your business. Because when we started working together in the end of 2020, the big thing that we started working on is you already had a successful real estate business yourself. It was like, how do we continue to apply discipline to be great at the business that you're running, bring more people in there, bring more people into your office, manage this 60 plus agent office, and continue to keep that growth path going while also harmonizing that with your life, being able to spend time with your family, do baseball with your kids and all that great stuff. So we're going to have a really good conversation about this, man. And so, well, let's dive right on in, right? To kind of like where you are at in terms of how you built your business and managing at the same time, because a lot of people will think like, man, running a real estate business is hard enough, but managing 60 agents. So like, what drove you to want to be in that branch manager position after you already were seeing success as a solo agent?
Yeah. And people ask me like, how do you do? I honestly don't know. I just do it. There's no I hate to say that. Like, there's no like. I'm not sitting back like, oh man, I'm really doing a great job. From my perspective, I'm like doing a great job managing this. Now, I would assume that now that I've been doing it for 14 years, that I'm doing something correctly, or I'm highly delusional. One of the two things is probably true. But no, so basically the evolution for me was I started, like I said, Windermere in 2008. And then quickly, we actually opened a new office that I started with, and I was actually there with Michael Doyle, and so Garrett at the Green Lake office, for those of you that know Seattle. And then after a couple years there, Obi Jacoby, who's one of the owners and the son of the founder of Windermere, came to me and was like, "Hey, are you interested in being a manager?" And there were 9 other candidates. So I was one of 10, interviewed again, and ended up getting the role. It was definitely pretty early on to go into management in my career, and said yes, did it, and ended up managing the flagship office of our company. It's called the Sandpoint Windermere. It's in the neighborhood in Seattle's Laurelhurst. Did that for 7 years, and then I was like, hey, I'm looking for something different now. And so they're like, hey, have this other office. go to this other office and manage this for us. And
we don't want to lose you in this role. So you can have something different, but the same.
Same, exactly. Same, but different. It worked out well for me because it was like literally the Laurelhurst office was 10 minutes one way from my house, and the office where I'm at now, the Northgate office, is 10 minutes from my house the other way. So it's from my perspective, I love part of it is minimizing travel, right? I really, if I spend less time traveling from and to, and I for me personally, and I know not everybody vibes with this, I like to go to a workspace. So I was able to manage that during COVID when Matt and I started working together, but I like going to work. I like that act. Even if it is a short commute, that break from and to, I'm at work, I'm working. For me is that physical is helpful. So I'm in my 8th year now at the Northgate office. So I've been there actually longer than I was at the Sandpoint office now, which blows my mind. And it's been fun. I really enjoyed both. I didn't leave the Sandpoint office because I didn't like it, but I was looking for a different challenge. But yeah, being at the Northgate office has been fun. Gone through some very interesting stuff there. Managed through COVID, and then it's sort of as the landscape has changed with the NAR stuff, and so yeah, it continues to evolve, but it's always interesting.
So Jordan, I think it's interesting is that there's some leadership teams that take a great agent and they go, hey, we're going to take this great agent, and because they're a great agent, we're going to move them into a management leadership, style role. And I know for you going like, I mean, I guess I'm good at this. Maybe I'm delusional. Like, I mean, for you to be able to say that, but also be in the role as long as you have, I think what Windermere leadership I've always been impressed with is they find good people to be good leaders. They don't just pull up the top agent, not saying you weren't a top agent, but they don't just pull up the top agent and stick them in that role. And I think that's why you kind of are like, I think I know what I'm doing, but it's obviously working. You probably are a natural leader and manager at on some level in there, which is, I think, that is a talent of a stronger leadership to look down and say, we need you, come here, like you're a candidate for this.
Yeah, they definitely saw something in me. I mean, to be clear, when I became manager, I was the youngest person in that office. I was, wow, again, younger than all of the people I was managing, which is a weird dynamic, but there was a little bit of pushback, but nothing that like gave me any pause by any stretch. So that was, yeah, they definitely saw that in me, which I very much appreciate. They helped as well. Like, there's not really a playbook for being a manager, right? There's no schooling to go to that, so to speak. But they're like, hey, I want to go to the Pacific Institute. Go ahead, be paid for that to go do Lou Tice's stuff. Those the Lou Tice is from the Northwest, so they have Pacific Institutes in West Seattle. Got to do that. And
my dad was a head facilitator for Lou Tice.
There you go. Yeah, it was. So got to go do that, and then they've definitely fostered education and training specifically. I feel like they, rightly so from my perspective. If I'm hiring someone who's this young and hasn't had this role, there is value to doing that. It wasn't as if I had gone to school. I did go to UW. I was in business school, so it wasn't as if I didn't get my MBA by any stretch, but I did. I was in accounting, so I had a bit of a business background going into it and understood probably more than a lot of real estate brokers do the business side of things. So I think there was a value there. But yeah, the leadership and management, found my way. I feel like I no one came and told me they hated my meetings. So there's that. There may have been talk behind my back, but.
Well, Matt, you were a young leader of an office.
Yeah.
So Jordan, you take you, and I think that part of that is having all the knowledge in your tool belt of all the deals I've ever done, and I know every real estate transaction. That's a piece of being a good leader and being a good manager. There's an element of being a good manager, and that's where I was starting off with, is they probably acknowledge very quickly, like, okay, you have an energy that people want to follow, they pay attention to, they listen to, and that's more so than just, hey, I know how everything works. It's more so we want to follow this person. So sounds like you've done well with it so far. What is your favorite part about being a leader manager type role?
Yeah, no, seeing new brokers have success. There's nothing better than watching that first, second, third deal from those new brokers and seeing them have that success.
I can do this.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't want to hire. I like hiring new. I like seeing that. I feel like I have a role in that, so it's gratifying for me personally, and they don't have bad habits. So there's that.
There's no bad habits in real estate. What are you talking about?
Hiring new is great. And yeah, I think there's something to be said about hiring young managers when you see that ambition, that drive. I mean, you were doing pretty well in your first 6 years of business too. And so it's like, hey, it's not just the results that you produced, there's a effort and a discipline and a drive that goes into producing those results. Because when you started as a manager, you didn't have kids yet, right?
I did. No, I did. I did have one. No, both kids.
They had
Both
to be
kids. 'Cause I started
really
in
young,
2011. Yeah,
right?
both kids. Yeah.
Okay, so they were, but really young,
They were
right?
young.
So,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
same thing when I was a manager, like I was managing people who had been selling real estate longer than I'd been alive. I was like,
Oh
how is
yeah.
this going to work?
Yeah.
And I think not having all the answers yet helps you because you have to ask better questions and then come up with. So with your new agents, since that's something that you like to do, and a lot of brokerages shy away from that. They're like, hey, we don't want to train new. You guys at Windermere obviously have incredible training as well. So it's not up to the manager alone to get new agents up to speed in terms of like, this is a process. This is how you help buyers. This is how you help sellers. That said, a lot of the implementation falls on the manager. So what have you found is like the things that you do or the things you encourage new agents to do and you hold them accountable for that helps create that early success for them?
Yeah, to be clear, I'm still managing someone who's been doing real estate longer than I've been alive. So I still have someone in my office that's still the case. Brian, if you listen to this, love you. But no, and the cool thing is Windermere has just evolved. They've come up with a new program. It's called Windermere Summit, and we actually have like an intensive training course for what we call baby brokers, and brokers can opt into that. So that's a really cool thing that we've evolved into. And the woman that's running that, Shelly Bean, she's doing a phenomenal job with that. So it's actually taken a reasonable amount off. Now it doesn't work for everybody, so I do have new brokers that come in to my office. So it's not 100%, but yeah, I'm really stoked that she's doing that. But yeah, for me, a lot of things I put in place, I do have sort of three. I have office meetings every other week on Mondays, so I have that cadence every other week, and I strongly encourage brokers, anybody to come to that. Yep.
Why every other week? You're already breaking the trend of what every broker out there tries to do is a powerful meeting every week. Please explain.
Yeah. So that's just been the vibe at my office. My office has had an interesting history. It was the only desk fee Windermere office in the company. We're evolving away from that now, but it was where people came. It was at one point. My understanding is that during the heyday, they had 60% of the new construction in North Seattle running through our office. It was really big in the first and second sort of townhouse booms in North Seattle, or in Seattle proper, but definitely in North Seattle. So it was a bunch of primarily, not exclusively, but primarily developer brokers, and they weren't super stoked on weekly meetings. So that's just sort of been and I didn't change that when I came in. So it's every other week. We have a good one. I have a sort of love-hate with meetings. I do like meetings. I think there's value to them. I think they can get misused very, very quickly. And if the value declines, I will see declining attendance and. Yeah, I'm wasting your time at that point.
The amount of agents that talk about their sales meetings like it is an absolute sales meeting. I mean, there's very few offices I have found that they're like, oh, I'm so excited we're having our sales meeting today. It's always the moment of my week that grounds me and raises me up and gets my week going. Like that is never the case. But I think it's something to strive for, but I haven't found it yet really for the most part.
Yeah, and I want them to come away with some value, hopefully, and whether it's something they heard or learned. We go over little stats. I try not to go too heavy with the stats, but I do focus on you guys have talked about this both I think in this podcast, but definitely in the previous podcast. The 4 stats you should know. I evolved my weekly newsletter because of what you guys were talking about. Active, new, pending, sold is a staple both in my weekly email and in my sales meetings. So, if they can just take one of those pieces, that's what I want them to be able to have that conversation. How's the market? They'll know, kind of where things sit. If they remember it, that's great. If not, they can look at the email and talk about it there. So that's part of it. And then, we talk about, kind of what's going on in the market. Are there stories? I want them to be able to take that story and be able to talk to people about it when they do get, hopefully, if they're doing a good job, inevitably asked about it, how the market's doing.
Well, and outside of your sales meetings, you also have other opportunities for people to get together with you and learn more, right? Because you have other sessions that you host for your office in addition to the sales meetings, right?
That's right. Yeah. So I do we call it I hope I can say this okay. Ninja video Tuesday, and then we do our Ninja on Wednesday, and then Thursday we host. Sorry, if you have to put like the stars and like not say that word. Larry's gonna come get us. No. And then Thursday we used to have. We evolved on Thursdays. It's usually Windermere generated content on Thursdays, and now there is a thing that Michael Fanning started called The Path, and so I just host that, and that's available virtually as well. So some people come to the office and watch it, but I host it at the office. So it's usually the Tuesday, again, the video day. Wednesday we get together, and I've done the whole thing, read mastery. We do the whole thing. It ends up being a lot of discussion. To be clear, a lot of the content now is based on what you guys put out, so that's very appreciated. Especially the new with the sheets. That was great. The questions you guys came up with are far better than the ones that I'm coming up with.
We're going to be expanding on those too. Like I am just getting into stride with that. So, nice. We'll talk more about that. For everybody's going, what in the world are they talking about? We're doing some things to offer up for managers and to make amazing sales, at least to help with amazing sales meetings. Yes.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. It's great. So that's great, and we have discussion around that. So I'm hoping to create a touch point each week. Well, no, I'm hoping. I've been doing it for majority of my 14 years. So it's a touch point for people, and some people come, some people don't. I'm pretty consistent with it. If I'm in town, I'm doing it. It's one of those things that's blocked out on my calendar that's happening. I don't schedule over it. There's like 4 or 5 things in my week that like they're not getting moved. And that's one of them.
And Jordan, the reason I was asking about the every 2-week cadence on that, and I love that you said that's just kind of the way it's always been. So that's what I've kind of like kept going in the office. But one of the biggest factors that I've watched in brokerages having a difficult time during these last, let's say, year, 12 months, is a complete breakdown of culture inside a lot of these offices. And I think that the office meetings and bringing everybody together, it's one of the few ways that you have to bring everybody together, ground everybody, bring the culture back into the office. And when everybody went to Zoom meetings and we were all spread all over the place, it just broke down more and more and more, and people would turn the meeting on and they would be like, well, I'm going to check my email and do all my stuff over here. It's running. I mean, I'm here. I showed up for the sales meeting. And I think that you having that more and more and more and really appreciating the in-office people being there and showing up, from what I'm understanding, like all these elements are really important right now in creating that culture because it's lacking in a lot of companies.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but the amount of discipline it takes to be focused on a Zoom in comparison to a live meeting is much higher. Like
horrendous.
I physically have to turn things off. I'm in a networking. I'm in a BNI group, and we meet once a month in person. The other 3 or 4, depending on the month, are virtual, and it is much harder to stay involved. Plus, I think there's a huge value to the in-person. Now there's value in terms of efficiency and easy to show up. People can be out doing their work and jump onto the meeting in their car, which is cool. But we're 100% live. I don't do any Zoom. I don't do any Zoom for my office meeting. I don't offer that as an option.
Matt, we should do a whole thing on like comparing like the power of a text to the power of like a face-to-face meeting. It's like that's like the difference of like a Zoom to like sitting down in
totally
an
is.
office
Well,
meeting
we have
face-to-face.
the structure. It's called the engagement engine, right? Where
Oh yeah, we do have that.
we
That
go
is
through all
true.
the difference in power there. And Jordan, you brought up a bunch of stuff here, which I think is interesting because every 2 weeks for the sales meeting, is that enough? It's like, well, you have all of these other educational opportunities that aren't mandatory, but they create these coaching moments for you as a manager, which I think is really, really awesome. But you also brought up your schedule, and I want to get into that a little bit. You also brought up BNI too. So kind of moving from this manager role to your agent role as well, because you also are an active agent. You sell a good amount of real estate, and you do well on that side too, in addition to running this awesome office. So how do you manage your schedule and focus in on your VIPs? Because you've gotten a lot of business out of that BNI group that you mentioned. So
no.
what's been your structure there in terms of your routine? Because now you have to go to these meetings every week that you host when you're in town. You're running a sales meeting every other week. Oh, right. And you have to go sell real estate at some point too.
Yeah, no, and to be clear, I think I get value out of doing the meetings as well. I think having to, I typically listen to podcasts multiple times. I've got to take some notes on it, so it's an instructive thing for me as well. So I feel like I get an extra benefit from it in addition to having discussion around it. So it benefits me and it makes me more focused on the learning aspect. So that's a sort of secondary benefit for me. So it's not I don't view it as a detriment to my life and schedule. I view it as a positive.
Well, I know fun too when we add stuff in, like if you're going to be teaching stuff, you have to educate yourself where that helps you learn, and then you get to apply it all in this same thing. And I do see this a lot with selling managers where their efficiency on their selling side is so good because of the discipline they're putting in on the manager side and teaching and coaching, right? It just makes them a better broker on the other end. So please continue with the routine.
Well, and I do feel strongly of lead by example, right? I don't want to ask my brokers to do things that I'm not ready, willing, and able to do. So again, not perfect by any stretch, but I do want to lead by example. And that's why I feel like selling brokers have somewhat of an advantage because I can't, I understand what's going on. I can talk about it from what I'm doing, not just what you should do. So there's a little bit of a balance
It's
there.
a skill to balance though. I think that's one of the biggest downfalls of that the competing broker, selling broker at the same time is that the balancing of that out is usually, I mean, you've done it for a long time. You obviously have a routine that works around it. It's usually where I find that most of them kind of fall short is that they have the office going, I can't get a hold of him. Like, where is he? Oh, he's out on a listing appointment. And it's like, and if you don't have that balance to be able to pull that back in and be able to be there for your office, it can work against you, but also very much in your favor because you do know what's going on the ground. You do know what's happening out there. And I think, as you were saying, preparing for these meetings, you are doing research that the average agent out there probably should be doing. They should be knowing all this stuff, but they know you're going to do it. So they're like, oh, I'll get that in the meeting when we have that. But you're actually the one going out there and scouring all the data, looking at all the stuff, which is very valuable for you and your business. So benefits all around.
100%. As sort of annoying and boring as it is, it's a routine for me now. I know where we sit. I look back. I do same sort of stats for my office as well. So I usually show where we were a year ago. So I compare sort of year on that week year on year, and then I also show where we were when the four stats that we're talking about. I look at where we were a month ago, and a year ago. So not just where we are, but also in comparison. But yeah, it is a balance. But I feel I take pride in the fact that people can get a hold of my brokers, can get a hold of me. And I want to be able to, that is my role. That is my job. I want to be able to answer questions. I want to be able to help my brokers work through scenarios. I got to give a shout out to Stefan Herschelman, who also works with Matt. He's my assistant manager at the office, and he also does a really good job. If someone needs to get a hold of me and can't get a hold of me, they usually can get a hold of one of us. It's rare that we're both unable to answer, even if we're. And I have no problem doing it while I'm away. I've had conversations with people. I remember very vividly a conversation. I was in Italy this summer. A broker called, and I had a 20-minute conversation with them about a situation in August. Whatever. It doesn't. I don't have a hard time. It was notable because to me it was fun. I didn't really. It didn't detract from my experience on vacation. It wasn't as if it was such a hardship. I thought it was funny. And side note, first listing I ever closed, I was actually still paddling at that point, and I closed it, and I was using Skype. It was early days of Skype, and I was doing it. I was in Hungary, and I closed my first listing while I was in Hungary, and the guy was like, "Your phone sounds weird." I'm like, "Yeah, it's I don't know what's going on, man. It's like I kind of didn't share that information." But it was I've done it. I've done real estate all over the world. So it doesn't really. I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to answer the phone for clients and
with
my
Skype.
brokers.
That's like you're on a need-to-know basis, and you don't need to know why it's crackling right now.
Well, I think that's key into like harmonizing in. Like you enjoy what you do. We just had Dave Baswell on talking about how he never disconnects. Like the phone's with him. He doesn't matter where he is. And I think it takes a level though of having good organization at home to be able to be comfortable doing that, because a lot of agents, if they're just stressed all the time in their business, when they vacation, they're like, I need to be complete. And there's nothing wrong, by the way, for those of you who just completely disconnect and hand it over.
Sure.
That's totally cool.
Yeah.
But when you're at a level of your business where you're just kind of operating it, and Jordan, you have a good calm energy too about how you approach your business, which I think is helpful.
Thank you. Appreciate
that.
But
you also manage your time, and I know you'll say like, well, I don't manage it the best. I don't think there is an answer of like who manages their time the best, but you do manage it very well so that you do dedicate time to working on your business while still being available for your agents, running your office. And so give us a little insight into like, what does that routine look like and how do you focus on the key VIPs? Because remember when we started, you're like, yeah, I talk to like maybe 30 people a week, and we're like, hey, can we get to 50? And you're like, I'm good with this. Like I am totally good with this number of people. And it does produce you, 20 or so deals or more every single year. So, you're obviously getting results out of it.
Yeah. Well, I do really focus on calendar. So that's first thing first. I would say for sure I do focus on calendar. Do I hit the mark on actually doing what I'm supposed to be doing all the time? No, I don't. I know, Matt, you calendar probably better than I do, but and you're better at discipline within it. But I have the things in there, right? I have the things in there. I know what I'm doing, and it always comes as a surprise to me when I have something incorrect in there. It was pretty funny. And one more thing too, I got as we're talking about vacation and stuff. I've never gotten a hard time from my amazing wife for doing it. She's always been 100%. Hey, you got to do what you got to do. Even when we were like little kids, we're on Maui, and I was like, hey, babe, I gotta go do some stuff real quick. Babe, you got to do what you got to do. You do your thing. Come join us when you're ready. And she's never side-eyed me. She's never rolled her eyes at me. There's never been that in my life. So that makes, when you have
I want
that.
to highlight that too, because like when we first started, one of the things that you'd said is like your whole goal in real estate was to build a business where you could retire her and she wouldn't have to work. Right. And so I think having that relationship and communication with her is a real big part of that. And if people don't have that conversation, you are going to get the side eye. Cause like, what are you doing? It's like, but you guys had a mission together that you were working on.
We just talked about this with David Baswell, specifically about like over communicate with your spouse about what are the big goals, what are we striving for, what are we driving towards here while we're on this trip? What does that mean to be on this trip? Am I going to take some phone calls? Am I going to do some work if that work needs to be done, which allows us to be here traveling and doing all this stuff and this crazy freedom that this business gives you. And over communicating to your spouse is that's usually a winning strategy over communication.
I would agree
Under
with that.
communication is just a time bomb.
Not great. Yeah. No, but it's been from day one, and the kids too. Like the kids, I hear these stories like, Dad, come to, like, I don't think I've ever heard the kids say, Dad, come. I always, I do prioritize doing stuff with and for them. My parents were amazing role models of that for me. Getting into a sport that no one, they didn't grow up. Who grew up canoeing? They didn't. But my dad ran the organization. He was on the he ran the board. He was out there. There was this ridiculous race course you have to put in. It's a crazy undertaking, and he would go run that. And the amount of input he had in getting me to a place where I could kind of take that next level was massive. So I had an amazing role model in that, and I've tried to emulate that in the sports that my kids are into. It makes it easy that my younger son's into golf, because all you have to do there is golf. That's a pretty easy one. So you want me to come play golf with you? Oh yeah,
Sure.
100% can do that.
So, Jordan, real quick, going back to your calendar, you made a comment that I think is really important for people to take away from this, where you're like, I'm not perfect with my calendar. Like, I put all my stuff on there, and I do my best to show up and do it all. And I find this is a roadblock for a lot of people with their calendar, because they're like, I'm going to make a calendar. I'm going to build it all out. I get all my stuff on there. And they go through their first week, and they're like, I didn't get to all of it. And then they're like, well, the calendar's only working if I get to all of it. So I'm going to build it all out next week. We're going to go after it again. And they do it a second week, and they don't get to all of it. And they just go, this is crap. I can't do this. And they just let it all go, where I think you need to have some understanding with yourself. Like, I always refer to it, this is a perfect week. If everything were to go perfect, this is all how it would get done. But we're in an industry that it doesn't always go perfect. And there's things that get thrown at us over here. And all of a sudden there's things that you need to call out and go, that ain't going to happen right now. Like, I have got to go take care of something else. And there's a discipline you have to have, and an okay you have to have with yourself. Otherwise, you will just throw it all away, scrap, and go, well, I guess I can't do that. And it sounds like you found that understanding for yourself a little bit while still striving for the perfect week.
Yeah, well, I think for me, the thing that I don't have is perfection. I'm not a perfection person. I'm a completion person, not a perfection person. So, and that's something I was just thinking about, was like, I want to complete tasks. Like, it bothers me if I don't, and like workouts, like I want to complete it bothers me if I can't complete a workout. And it was funny yesterday, I was trying to get some time to meditate, and it's like, but what if someone bothers me before the 10 minutes is up? I was like, so what? You get 7 minutes of meditation. Maybe you don't get the perfect 10, but it's funny in my mind. It's like, you got to figure out how to complete it, but I'm not a perfection. So that for me, there may be something easier for me, just the way I'm wired. So I'm not worried about the perfect week. I'm setting it up to have a good week. I'm setting it up to have an effective week. But it's not necessarily that I need to have perfection coming out of that.
Way better than not having a plan at all. I'll tell you that.
Totally. And we were talking about this. Was it Monday or yes? I can't remember what we were talking earlier. Last couple of days we were talking about. Someone was bringing up the idea of doing it now as opposed to planning it. And I was talking about the amount of resources that you can waste or spend in terms of time, energy, and money. Working on that, whether it's that last 20%, 15, 5, whatever percent. Whereas if you get an 80% plan executed properly, the cost of that is so much lower than the spend on a 100% plan or even a 90% plan. There's a huge value to that.
Huge value, and you set yourself up for success. I mean, and no offense to anybody else that I work with, but Jordan and Stefan, by the way, it makes sense because they're in the same office, are really good about that weekly planning session. Like, those sheets come into me every single week, unless there's a vacation or something else that happens, of course. But even if it's not perfect, because I think this is the great example. A lot of people say, I can't fill out my weekly diagnostic sheet because I don't have all the answers. It's like, well, like I can pull up a random sheet from Jordan and it'll be like half empty, but there's some stuff on there because you sat down and did it and looked at your calendar so that you could at least have an advantage going into the week versus just going in and opening up an inbox and going, okay, what do I have to do today? So
it's a flying by the seat of your pants method. It's used by many. Just wing it.
It is, and yeah, and to some effect, some people are. It's remarkable to me the success that comes out. I'm like, you don't do any of this? No. I'm like, that's wild. That's wild.
But usually predictable results get heard at some point in time. Usually I find if they're winging it like that, they're more susceptible to market changes, to changes in the industry, that all of a sudden it's like, wait, this system that was working, I don't realize that it's not working, or I'm falling down until all of a sudden it's like, why am I not having any closings right now? Why am I not? Well, because you're not noticing what's going on around you. So that flying by the seat of your pants will work for a lot of people, but you're just more susceptible to outside influences.
That's a great point. I completely agree with that. Yeah. Why is it? I've done this forever. Why is it not? Like, well, yeah, things are shifting. Things are changing.
People have been doing it forever since COVID, right? They're getting a big shift. And so, Jordan, I want to talk about your commitment to communicating with the core people in your world. Yep. You mentioned, participating in kids stuff because, okay, golf, you go golf, but you also run your other son's baseball league, right? Or you used to. And every season it's but that puts you in communication with people, and the consistency that you have, your BNI group, consistency there showing up to that small group of people, which leads to, we calculated 1 year where your BNI group was a big chunk of the referral business that came in, that was putting you over a really nice ratio of referral business that was closed versus even just direct business. So how do you set, you just moved to a new CRM and everything too, but how do you set up that focus and intent on those specific groups of people for yourself?
Well, it's evolving, Matt, and you've asked about the VIP a couple times now, and I haven't done a good job answering it. So
okay, I'll always bring it back.
I defined the list of kind of look back. I do one thing I do, I think pretty well, is I do have an Excel file with every transaction that I've closed in the past. I think it's over the last. It's not from the very beginning, but pretty early on. I want to say since 2011, maybe last 14 years, maybe when I started managing. Anyways, it's in there. So I went back and looked who are they and where's the business coming from, and defined that, and looked at who has been an outsized influencer for kind of 2, 3, 4 transactions. Who's at sort of the base of the tree of these ones, and made those people a list, and then spent more time and energy focused on those individuals. So it wasn't rocket science. It was going back and looking at who's responsible for it. Not surprisingly, a large number of them are in and part of the BNI group. And I didn't share this big. I've been part of BNI as long as I've been part of Windermere, or within a couple of months. So I joined Windermere in July of 2008. I joined BNI in September of 2008. So pretty close on. So I've been a part of both of these organizations for quite some time now. For a while, I was in leadership at actual leadership, not just in my chapter, but I took on a job at BNI. And then I remember very distinctly, I was on the beach in Maui reading 4-Hour Work Week. And I was like, nope, this says I should not do this any longer. So I called them, I called the owner the next week, and she was literally, I had 2 chapters at that point. She was going to give me 4 more. And I realized that one transaction would pay for that. And I was like, no, I'm going to go ahead and focus on real estate here.
That book was a powerful one. That was one that made me reevaluate a lot of things and go, wait, what are we doing?
Yeah, I got lucky. I was pretty early. I don't remember how I found Tim Ferriss, but I've been one thing I'm probably known for in my office more than anything is the number of different podcasts I listen to and consume. 1.2, 1.5 is real. Everybody, you can do it.
It's amazing. Even on YouTube, it's a fantastic thing.
Yeah, it's amazing now. You can squeeze those, like if I'm doing videos, you can hype it up to 1.2. It's Matt, 1.2 for you is fast. I'm sure that this podcast, if people are trying to do 1.2, this with the speed that I'm probably talking at right now, it's going to be challenging. But there'll be a lot of information to take in, so you got that going for you.
You got to train your brain. You got to train your brain to go at that pace. If you're going to,
your brain doesn't have to be trained. Your brain is ready for it. Your brain is not. You can consume at much higher rate.
The best is when you go back though. You go back, slow down, and you're like, "How? This is painful.
What are we doing here?"
It sounds so slow when you like accidentally turn it off. Or like you're cycling through it, like gets stuck at 0.75. You're like, "Oh my gosh,
why is Matt's voice so deep?" That's his normal voice.
That's how he actually talks. That's how he actually sounds. So I don't know how I got, but like, Tim Ferriss early on was a huge, but then all the people that kind of came from him as well. Speaking of, kind of beginning trees, a lot of other podcasts I listened to because of him. But yeah, he had an impact on that, and that decision for me early on was very helpful in focusing more. But like you're saying, Matt, again, my parents were very involved with the organization for paddling, both at a local and national level. So I've taken that on as well. I ran the board of directors for the local. We do pony baseball in our area. For those people are probably more familiar with Little League. Pony's another organization. And so I ran that, and then now I'm still very involved. My older son is still playing baseball at the high school and select level, and he is part of a select organization, and now I'm running that, so I'm running it is a nonprofit organization still, but it's a select baseball league, and that's got its own interesting and fun. So I'm trying to, and it hasn't had a board, so I'm formalizing a way we're structured. I can't have a board, but I'm putting together a advisory committee for that, so it's got more sustainability going forward as well. So trying to help the community, try to help the organization, but ultimately I'm doing it for my kids. I'm there to help and support them.
With all these things you have going on, you've got your kids' sports, you've got B&I group that you're heavily involved with, you're running an office, you're doing your own real estate. Obviously, as Matt shared with me, you do have some support behind the scenes. You've got, sounds like a transaction coordinator, you've got an assistant, or whether that's the same in there. Well, and your marketing is pretty much set up in happening on an auto flow type setup. I'd love to know about how do you structure that kind of behind the scenes to make this all work.
Yeah. So we haven't talked about that yet. This is a very important aspect of my life. Around the same time that Matt and I started working together, there was a woman who was previously at my office, was an assistant to one of the more higher producing brokers in the office, and she had kids, started her own transaction coordinator business, and she came to me and was like, "Hey, I wanted I have different recollections of how this meeting went than she does, but I thought we had a good discussion." I said, "Hey, it's awesome. I don't need your help at this point." And looked at the numbers. I was like, "I can do this on my own." And that's the normal reaction that I've seen from the vast majority of people.
Oh, yeah.
So started working with Matt, and then I think we were talking about it, or I just said, "Hey, I do want and need the support." So I called Natalie up, and I said, "Natalie, let's start working together." And she has been huge. COVID was massive in terms of the amount of business. I think we listed we did our first listing right into COVID, the day it happened, from our recollection. Anyways, that relationship has evolved extremely well. So went from transaction coordinator to assistant on both buy and listings, and now we're partners. Now we've actually are business partners now. So
Wow.
that's how far that's evolved. And she is amazing.
She's awesome.
I would not have done what I've done without her assistance and her thoughts on stuff. I really trust what her counsel, and I enjoy working in a team. I had a background in sport that was an interesting sport because it was individual and team. So there was that aspect, but Natalie's been a huge aspect of my success, and I could not do what I do and manage and do this and do that and the other thing without her. That would be
so. You talk about an assistant the way that I tell people, like, you need to go find an assistant that is like that. I find a lot of people that, I have a lot of people that I coach that they're like, I've got an assistant and I just wish they would, or I wish they did this, or I wish they would show up in this way, or I wish I could count on them for this. I'm like, you have the wrong person in that role. If that's it, like, you should be looking with a little bit of your heart going, I don't know how I could do this without you. Like, you are a huge part of this. And then for you to say, I made them a partner, like, we became partners in this. That is the relationship you should be striving for with a person in your business at that level. Like, what was the point that made you go, oh, we're way more than just you're my assistant?
Yeah. I could say it's funny. She told me that, but no.
She would totally.
You can't do this without me.
100%. 100%. But there's been, countless moments of realization of, like, how am I doing? Like, when people ask you, how are you doing this? You're like, well, Natalie takes care of all that stuff. Like, I really, really try not to deal doctor after mutual, right? That's communication, yes. Deal doctor, no. Natalie's very efficient. She's built her own software for this stuff. She's managing her own company as well. So not only is so we both have dualities of role, right? So we're in a similar situation on that. She's got her own company. She manages transactions for upwards of 20 Windermere brokers within the company. So she's my partner in business, but she also is managing, she has her own business called Released and Recorded, and she does an amazing job with that as well. So, we both have that, and she's got kids. So we both have these other pieces in our lives, but no, she's always on point. She always does a great job. And the synergy that we create with clients, in a number of situations, it's made so much difference in how we can communicate. We have and still have some pretty interesting clients and client situations, and one of us can take that on at a time or together from a strategic standpoint. But it's for the most part, it's worked out extraordinarily well.
What I love about this too is, like, when a lot of people go to partner with someone, they're like, I'm going to partner with another agent, which there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But in partnering with someone who has a completely different skill set, where it started off as like you delegating things, and then her taking a elevated level of ownership over time, where you guys have completely different skill sets that bring equal value to the business, versus saying, hey, we have the same skill set, so we'll just kind of cover each other, right? Which can work, don't get me wrong, but like this way, it just operates so much better because you and Natalie both know what you're responsible for very clearly, and trust each other in getting that handled. And I think there is a key element that that kind of exhibits in all the way that you run your business and manage and everything, is that you look for the efficiency route where you can trust somebody to help with something, and you look for the opportunity where you can bring your intent and deliver the most value. Because all this stuff too started off very low tech. You mentioned like calendar, Excel spreadsheet, like, hey, let's bring on Natalie as a transaction coordinator, right? And it's all very low tech in the beginning, but you were just very pointed with your energy to say, hey, this is where the most value is, so I can get my highest dollar per hour in these activities. and also taking advantage of, hey, I'm going to go and be with my kids, be involved in their sports and everything, but be active in communication because, hey, maybe some business can come from that. You're not going in there being like, hey, I'm going to be the realtor at the baseball field, but naturally people know who you are and what you do, and business comes your way, which I think is just incredible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's been 100%. I'm probably more reluctant to market to people in baseball than any other one, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, over time, people know what you do, and hopefully, how you operate within the baseball sphere or the whatever sphere you're in is
Shows your
a
integrity and
positive.
trust, yeah.
It shows that you're someone who can be liked and trusted.
So if I entered into your world, let's say I'm a client coming from Reading, moving to Seattle, and enter into your world, how do you introduce me to your partner? Is that something that I am introduced right up front as, hey, this is my business partner, we're going to be working together on this? Is it something that she kind of runs in the background?
No,
Because keep going.
Yeah, no, she's up front. Yeah, it's very much up front. So if you were in so we had a buyer interview, probably first one via phone. She's going to be conferenced in on that, and I'll introduce her immediately. So there's an immediacy there. There's no hiding that. She's not in the background. She's very much in the forefront. And it's depending on the situation, it's a 50-50 shot of who will show you the house.
Wow.
We're that integrated. Yeah.
Well, and Matt, you brought this up, and I think it's an interesting thing that most realtors partner with another realtor, and you look at that as that's like for like skill sets.
Yeah.
And it's funny, if you go to almost any other business out there, you typically don't partner with your clone of like for like skill sets. We all have your best business partners working together. Is you are amazing at this. There's a reason you have a COO and a CFO and a CEO. And it's like, okay, these are my partners, but we all are like, thank God you're handling the money. Cause like, if it was left up to me, we'd be in serious trouble. Like, I think it's great to look at that. And very few times do I see a realtor set themselves up in a way of saying, look, you got a specific skill set, like let's partner up because you're going to make this whole thing run smoother and then by the way, I guarantee you, she doesn't want to do what you do.
Yeah, no, I think she's evolving to be good at it as well, though. She's one of the things that Natalie's extraordinarily good at is she's a good learner, and she's not sitting back there going, "Oh no, I'm not going to." She has goals, and she has I think desire to be better in what she's doing as well.
For her.
The fact that we're partnering now, she's sort of into the real estate space beyond what she was previously. So she doing a phenomenal job, and she had her first kind of referral from one of her friends a couple weeks ago, which was awesome, huge milestone for her to have business coming in as well. Meant a great deal to her, and it's fun to watch for me to watch that as well. Again, love seeing the evolution of these of brokers. She's a newer broker now. She's been doing the business for a while, but she's a newer broker, right? So it's also cool to see that. But the amount of impact that she has, and like you're saying, the dynamic is real, right? Having different dynamics in there. You guys both sold real estate once upon a time. And we are starting to work with more developers now. Our business is evolving a little bit to work with developers. And it is remarkable, at least from my perspective, when you have a developer who is only taking input from a male standpoint, and the design and execution of those choices, and you're basically leaving out 50% of the world, and maybe the people that are more impactful on who is going to purchase the property. So having her involved in design choices and input for developers is, I think, a huge aspect to what we're able to offer builders and developers
I know my
in our
wife
world.
looks at things from a totally different perspective
Totally.
than I do
Yeah.
of when we're remodeling the house right now. And I'm like, wouldn't this be? No,
I
that's,
can
Yeah.
some of
Yeah.
those things. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely very true.
Yeah. And Matt, obviously you got Jen. I mean, she is a
Yeah,
designer.
I'm not
So
allowed to have a
yeah.
say in anything.
Yeah.
So,
No.
I mean,
yeah, Matt has
she's a
no design
professional
input at all.
designer. There's just no way I can
Yeah.
compete.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did do this
Um,
myself, though. All this.
He did this all on his own, guys. Don't everybody, what everybody, he did
All
this all on
me.
his own.
I did
All
get the
him.
thumbs up before it was
There
executed,
you
though.
go. Yeah,
So,
make sure he got thumbs up.
yeah,
But no,
yeah.
it's remarkable. Like it really having those that the input on and not just new construction. What we do for we're pretty extensive. What we offer for at least consultation for sellers as well. And I'll be like, oh, it's fine. She's like, no, it's not fine. It's not gonna. It's and inevitably though, when we push clients to do the things that we suggest, when we tell them to do the things, it usually ends up real strong. The investment definitely pays off on the sales price. So yeah, it's good. It's
Yeah.
good.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that kind of goes into like your mind. You have a very strong growth mindset, and that's clearly impacted into your office, the way you manage and the way you also lead people up, and how you've brought Natalie into your business, and I mean, Stefan, and guiding him as the assisting manager there. And he's got a lot of things that he's done on his own too, of course. But you like to develop people too. And I think, it makes sense for us to just kind of shift a little bit into like,
Yep.
you also make sure you take good care of yourself, right? You
Yep.
spend the time with family, like you have this harmonization, like we got on today, and you're like, hey, yeah, I don't have a hard stop, but I do need to get a workout in at some point, right?
Yeah.
Because I think
Yeah.
there's this interesting element when I look at successful people who are doing a lot of stuff at a high level. There's also this other element of personal care that's happening outside of that business that I think creates the energy inside you to be able to do that. So, I mean, you have some interesting routines, and maybe this is just from your life as an athlete that's carried over, or maybe it's just always been in you. But tell us a little bit about how you feel like the stuff you do outside. You mentioned meditation before has impacted how you do business.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really that's the one thing I wish that I was quite honestly better at was meditation consistently. I've gone through phases. I think most people who have a meditation practice will be like, yeah, I've done it. Kind of has seasons to it. And I think we stigmatize like, oh, meditation has to be this perfect Zen room, and I get that. Earlier we're talking completion versus perfection, and sometimes you just got to complete or get most of it done. But yeah, physical practice. I like to. I think I can't remember where I was either reading or listening to this the other day, but like that's the foundation. The physical is the foundation, and then everything else is kind of built on top of that. The mental and everything else. But if you don't have physical, and even starts with like talking about meditation, breathing. Being able to breathe properly. There's a lot of pieces to it. But yeah, I like to get out. I've like I said, was an athlete, trained upwards of 10 times a week when I was there. But I always was like, I don't want to be that coach over there. It's just like, was an amazing athlete and couldn't run a quarter mile at this point. Fat,
Not make it around the bases.
just brutal. So I prioritize physical fitness. I do. I think it's important. I think it's become. I don't think it's become it's become a lot more challenging with age. That's not gotten easier in my life. I had a workout yesterday. I'm part of a gym. It was a CrossFit kind of de-CrossFitted when everybody else de-CrossFitted, but it still does CrossFit style workouts. And we did a workout yesterday. And it was the closest I've come to walking during a workout in my life. But it was just a reminder of like, God, this is, and it used to be so easy for me. And I want to go back like a decade and tell myself like, enjoy this. Enjoy how easy this is for you at this point. Like you see other people struggling, that's you in 10 years. Enjoy your life. Because it's become way, way harder for me. Over the last decade, and definitely over the last like 4 or 5 years. And so it's funny going from like at one point I was the best in the gym. I'm not even sniffing that at this point. But the struggle is good. It is good. Maybe not during it, maybe not immediately afterward, but like with enough hindsight, it's good. So get in the gym 2 to 3 times a week. I've gotten into rucking as opposed to running. There's a lot of different podcasts I've listened to that, lowering that impact on your joints.
And now Stefan is rucking too. You've gotten him into
Stefan's rucking. Natalie just got a vest, so she's getting into it. I got a lot of other people in my world that are rucking. Got a lot of friends that are doing it. I've got a Go Ruck pack. I'm lucky. I've got 80 pounds in that thing right now, so I put that on. I usually don't go for hour is my norm, but I've gotten my speed up. Like I've worked on that a little bit, so kind of pushing on that. There's this. A lot of people have made fun of it, but they're actually starting this thing called Ruck Race League, which is a virtual race league that's starting on April 1st. So they're gonna give out workouts. So that'll be interesting. It's gonna be monthly, April through August. So gonna do that this year. Some a little different. And then started sprinting a little bit, so less longer running. But I go to the track. I don't know if I'm gonna do it today or not, but usually Wednesday's my day. I might do it Friday this week, but do some sprints, like pretty hard. And then I was watching another podcast, Huberman, last week, and he was talking about skipping and how valuable skipping is for you. So
the
last week
I skip.
Wait, hold on a second. Wait, are we talking about skipping a workout? Are we talking about skipping a workout, or are we talking about skipping down the road?
No. So what was your question, Garrett?
Are we talking about skipping a workout, like getting like a rest day? Or are we talking about skipping down the road? Because I had this mental picture of you going, or people listening going like, I didn't realize skipping was such a great thing. And all of a sudden we have a whole group of Life at 10 Tensors that go skipping every morning.
I'm skipping this workout. Jordan said it was okay. The physical act of skipping. And one of the reasons is we don't have a lot in our life where it puts your knee behind your hip. You have to, kind of that power position, and skipping naturally puts you into that position. So last week I did a 50-yard sprint, and I'm doing it on turf as well, so it limits the impact. 50-yard sprint, walk back, and then skip 50 yards. And I couldn't believe how the impact it had on my nervous system.
It's also the cutest part of the workout.
It is the cutest part. Can you edit that part out? Because I am going to get so much feedback because you just said that. That's fantastic.
It's definitely
future Jordan is angry at Garrett for what he just said. No, damn it. Why'd you say that? But it's amazing. I could not believe there's. Certainly when you're lifting weights, you can get fatigued, but it felt as though, and I was doing like Super Mario style skipping, like big hops. I could not, it felt like I was going off a cliff. I couldn't, my bounce. It was such a weird feeling by the end. Like I could not accelerate off the ground any longer.
I'm going to add that.
I'll try it. I'll report back. Let
me know.
Yeah.
The nice thing is it's much harder to hurt yourself than sprinting.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
It's much harder. And it was a very interesting, the podcast was with a track and field coach that is trained I don't know if he worked with Bolt or not, but a lot of high end, and he was talking about the value. And if you look at how track and field athletes train, they do a lot of bounding and skipping, and it was wild how it impacted my nervous system.
If you watch a lot of sprinters when they're getting ready to sprint, you will watch. Now that you're saying it, I will watch them literally do very high.
That's not that cute, is it, Garrett?
You're gonna think about it. You just let me know where your brain goes.
Believe me, I'm already getting that feedback. Believe me, the cool thing is, Natalie, Stefan, and then Stefan's partner, Marion, and I, we had this group chat of workouts where we kind of upload our workouts from it evolved from like 2 years ago. We've been doing this for over a year now, and there was immediate like gifs on cuteness of skipping in there. So just underscoring
what I
it.
love about this too is like, so not only like you've taken all the important parts of your world, like obviously I'm a huge fan of physical fitness. I'm huge. That's why we started the health program and everything. Cause it's like, this needs to be a part of people's lives, but you've had this integrated into also your office for years, and you now even have your January kind of like 75 hardish type challenge that you do with the office, which is really cool. And I think there's a key element for everybody listening through this entire thing is like you, Jordan, have figured out the way to bring everything in together. So it's not just all these little silos of like, oh, I need to like now bound over to, family. Now I'm going to bound over to BNI. I'm going to bound back over to real estate. And then I'm going to bound over to being a manager. It's all integrated together where, you have a group chat for workouts with your business partners in the office, which is so cool. So
there's a lot of bleed over across the boundaries for me. That's exactly right. Like, if I think about my group from like baseball, there's baseball people that work out with me, baseball people that I don't have baseball, definitely exposed people from baseball to BNI, gym, golf, baseball. Like there's a lot. I do try to integrate across sort of eliminate those silos to a degree where it's like not everybody's doing everything, but there's definite crossover across a lot of these different pieces for sure.
That's what makes it work. Keeps the database tight too.
Well, I don't even. Yes, but I think there's also just value to like people doing other stuff too, right? There's like, hey, I'm doing this thing. You want to join me? Conversations come up, and we're doing this thing. Let's try it. Gonna try and do since I was one of the few people that did complete it. I think with you two, maybe one other, did do the 12-hour walk this year. And the goal, I was gonna do an ultra marathon. That was my misogi for the year, but I don't know if I'm gonna do that any longer. But I am gonna do a longer walk at some point.
Which technically is an ultra marathon, by the way.
Jordan, could. Yes.
I mean, you covered what I think 37 miles.
37.
So
37.
That's an ultra right there.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good day. It was a good day, and I couldn't believe how quick the recovery was on the walking in comparison to running. That was one of the remarkable things. But I think I'm going to try and do a longer walk this year. Maybe. Whether sort of 50 miles is the number in my head. I did 37 and 12, so I'm going to try and do something longer.
Are you planning to do that completely unplugged, just like the 12-hour walk, or this will be different where you'll kind of stay attached a little bit?
I'm probably doing it with somebody else. I don't think I'm going to do it solo. My friend Micah is usually up for something crazy once a year with me. We rucked a half marathon with a 40-pound. Well, I had 51 pounds. We did the Seattle half marathon this year with a pack on. This would not be. I would not do 50 miles with a pack on. We might do. The other option would be doing a full marathon with a pack on. Doing a 26.2 with a 40-pound. That would also be very challenging. In a different way. But,
so Jordan, when you get ready, if you are going to do a fully unplugged 12 hours again, let me know when you're going to do that. I'm planning on doing one here too, but I'm going the opposite direction. I'm going less distance and more of secluding myself to a small area that I'm going to have to, it's basically 100 acres that I'm going to break into 12 sections. I'm going to have, every hour get to move to a new section of it, but completely unplugged, but making do with what I have in that section of the property to see where my brain goes without just constant outside stuff coming in as I'm walking. Very different. So I'd be curious to see, we're literally going the opposite direction. So I'd be curious to see what your takeaway is to what my takeaway is.
Yeah, no, I had envisioned when you said a small area, I was envisioning you walking around a room.
Not that small. We're going to get a little bit larger, and I will get a new section of land every hour. But
That's cool. Yeah. No, it was. I really enjoyed it. It was funny for me because I'm always going to try and push things a little bit. And I had a vision of what I was going to do, and that vision completely changed because Garrett, you're familiar with how we're along a lake and there's two bridges on a lake, and my plan was to walk around the north end of Lake Washington, and then I got to one of the bridges, and that bridge was closed. So it's really challenging to walk across Lake Washington if the bridge is closed.
That is true.
So I had to change.
Take you from 520 to 90. Which one did you go around?
It was 520. 520 was closed for the weekend, and so I made an edit, and I ended up walking around a significant portion of North and Central Seattle that day, and ended up kind of. If you look at where I went, I kind of crossed over at UW a couple of times, and. But yeah, it was fun. I actually really enjoyed that, and ended up going and playing poker that night too, which was interesting afterward. So yeah, down some ibuprofen. I didn't drink because I didn't think that like drinking and taking ibuprofen after a 37-mile walk was the smartest idea. So yeah, it was pretty fun.
So I know we're derailing here a little bit here, but you said the when you were done with your 12-hour walk, you said you went out and played poker. Where was my brain was in this super reflective, like I got done with my 12-hour walk, and everything that came up for me, like I was processing so much that evening. And I did go out to dinner with my wife. We did go out and get out and go move around a little bit. And I did go, I forget, I don't think I was drinking at that point in time, but it was great to get out and like walk away. And, but like, I couldn't shut my brain off. Like I had so many thoughts that I was processing still. Did you find that after that time?
I think that Matt and I had a very different experience than you. I had maybe a 30-minute window of that, Garrett, and then no.
All right.
Seriously, there was a very short amount of time where I had that, and then no. Then it was I was just focused on what I was doing at that point. So
I remember having that conversation with you, Jordan. You're like, yeah, it was great, but like, I don't know.
No.
Yeah. When I heard Matt go, it was okay. I'm like, what do you mean it was okay?
Yeah. No. I know you had it. I know it had. Yeah, and I did have a window of that, like a literal 30-minute, and it was early on, not like late in the day. It was early on, but it wasn't as if I didn't have thoughts. But I wasn't spinning like if I'm not. It wasn't meditative for me, is what I would say. Right. It sounds like it was much more meditative for you, and the layers were able to peel away, and you were able to kind of like have those thoughts bubble up, which
my brain just doesn't shut off. I think that was the thing. I used to have a brain that just going at 1,000 miles an hour, and that was the crazy thing. Is like to find a quiet space, and that would actually go to. It just took 4 hours, and then it happened.
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean we're all it's gonna hit differently for all of us how our brains go. But yeah, no, it was good. It was good. I really enjoyed it.
Matt, is there anything we're missing out of today, Jordan? Thank you so much. You've shared so much, and I want to be honor your time. And but Matt, is there anything else that you want to throw on the table?
I'm sure plenty more stuff we can go down, but this has been awesome. And thank you, Jordan, for getting up early, 6 a.m. On the West Coast to join us to do this. And so really appreciate you making that time. And it's been fun. I've enjoyed our relationship over the years, and it's fun to now kind of, talk a bit about that here on the podcast and share your story, because I know there's going to be people who are inspired by how you operate and how you run your business and your journey here. And so I just really appreciate you coming on and sharing this, man. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. If there is, that's fantastic. I appreciate your help, Matt, with everything you've done. Garrett, you and I haven't talked very much. I've certainly listened to you talk a lot. I've been a consumer of pretty much everything you guys have put out since I think before Matt and I were working together. So been a fan. So this is awesome to be a part of this, and you guys are doing great work. So very appreciative of everything you guys are doing and the example that you guys are setting with your consistency. Day in, day out, week in, week out. It's been pretty fantastic to see. So happy to be a part of it.
And if people want to connect with you, what would be the best way for them to find you?
Probably just you can certainly Google me. Easy to find me. JordanM@Windermere.com is probably email. JordanM@Windermere.com is probably the easiest thing to shout out here. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, to everybody listening, we want to say thank you so much, Jordan. Thank you to you for being a part of this with us today. If you want to learn more about what we're up to and what we're doing with our coaching, with our community, come check us out at Life at 10 Tenths. We have a 7-day free trial. You can come and join our world, see what it's all about. And if you decide you want to even take a longer journey with us, you can get into our 11 circle. We'd love to have you in there. And we also have some other different levels you can be a part of. If you just want to get some value every single week, but you don't want to maybe jump into the big picture, we have a lot of people that are joining us in that side of our community, which we'd love to have you in there too. If you want to have us a keynote, you want to have us join your morning sales meetings, just reach out to us. We'll do everything we can to bring value into your world. And with that being said, Matt, thank you. Jordan, thank you. And to the community out there that listens to us all the time, thank you for tuning in. And we can't wait to be back with you soon.